Hello and welcome back to the next instalment. We'll be looking at adding a blog into our site, but before we do that, we'll look at an oddity that I've noticed while I was so busy focusing on everything else and didn't realise that the menu had disappeared in Firefox. The mystery got even weirder when I looked at it in Chrome and we see that it's there. So what's going on? Well, if we go into Chrome Developer Tools and have a look and see, we'll go into the main part here. Well, actually, we're going into the header, I should say. There's the nav, and there's the container. It's still showing. Let me see, menu buttons grayed out. Well, that's not surprising. Menu list. Now, this is really interesting. If we go to menu list, we'll see it 0 by 0. So that's why we can't see it. Looking over into our CSS, we start to sort of see what's going on here. And as we go through the different properties and things here, one thing we do start to notice, the scale 0. If I tick that off, then it comes back. So that's our culprit. Now our source maps kindly tell us where to go. So it's in the nav menu and line 6. Thank you very much, source maps. Looking at our SAS, we've got line 6 is where our nav menu is. Here's the offending culprit. If I just get rid of that. And we'll head back to our browser. Hit refresh, and here it is back. Now just quickly before we move back into where we're supposed to be, if we look at the can I use and this scale, it's only sort of useful in Firefox and Safari, like Chrome and all those kind of Chrome-based browsers. It's not going to be an issue. So that explains why the menu is visible on Chrome but not on Firefox. Adding news is fairly straightforward. If we go into our back end and we're going to install a plugin, and that plugin is going to be bring up the list, blog by WinterCMS. That's what we're after. Does the downloading, the installation, and finishes the installation. Here we go, plugin is successfully installed. We now have blog. We'll also notice up here we've now got a blog setting. We've got a first blog post already put in there. One tiny thing I might do is just edit the categories that are available. And I'm going to change that from uncategorized just to news. And I'll give it the slug of news as well. Got our posts. Now time to make a page to go with them. So over to CMS and we'll just add a page and we'll just call that news. Layout is going to have the default layout. Page title, and go to our components we've got a blog component here, and in that we'll do a post list. As you'll see here, we've got a component that has blog posts, and up in here we've got a blog post list. And if we click on that, this brings us up some other options. We can filter by category, we can have posts by page, and no posts message. And we'll just leave all those on the default, and we'll save that page. Let's have a look in our code editor and see what that looks like. We'll see the new files actually in here, and it's news with a capital N. That's probably going to cause us some issues. Windows doesn't care, but Unix does, and just need to rename that with a lowercase. Okay, going back to here, we'll see we've got the title, latest news. The URL is going to be latest news. Actually, we'll just change that to news. And default layout, blog posts, and it's going to have the component of blog posts. So let's save that. We're probably going to have two of the same sort, so I'll just close this off to sort of stop any confusion. Right, let's add that into our menu, because I don't believe it's in the menu. No news up there. Okay, so in our pages here, go into our menus, into our main menu, and add an item, and that item is going to be called news. Search, it's found it. Latest news, CMS news page, excellent. Now, might just leave news there for the time being. Okay, so we've got the menu there, and if we look into our home page, here we go, latest news. There we go. The formatting here is a fairly easy fix. If we go to our main menu, not main menu, to our CMS, and to our news page, I'm just going to make this a bit smaller so you can actually see, because it's not actually visible thanks to my fat head. But down here, somewhere around, yeah, if we click on here, look down in the bottom here, you'll see a little fork icon. What that'll do is then that expands that out, and we'll save that. So it's actually created all these things here. So now we can go back and change them. So I'll close that off, and we'll pop back into our code, and you'll notice the news is now the new version. I always prefer to put a div instead of a UL. That list there doesn't need to be an li. That can be an article tag. And we'll just leave the others as they are. Let's see what that gives us. Go back to our browser and hit refresh, and there we go. We've got something formatted slightly better than what we had before. Of course, if we click into here, it takes us to the Contact Us page. That's interesting. Why does it do that? They all take us to the Contact Us page. Now that is a little bit weird. If we look at our news page, we'll see immediately what the problem is. Post page is Contact Us, and category page is news. Alright, we'll change these. So it's the category page, so news category, and post. Where I've got that from is if we look in the documentation for the blog, I think this is the October version, there's a winter port as well, but at the moment they're pretty similar to each other. You've got category page, this is the path to the category page, so the default value is blog category, and the default value here is blog post. We're actually using news instead of blog. That's why I've made these news category and news post. Now if we have a look at our page again and refresh, this goes to news and this goes to news, so there's no actual we need to create our single post pages, so it's just going to keep coming back and back and back. We'll come back here, we'll just create a new folder called news, so we can sort of keep everything together, and in that news we'll create a new file called post.htm, and we'll also create one called category.htm. At the moment there's nothing in there, and we need to tell Winter what to do with these files. Now we need to make our post page work, and that's done fairly simply by adding some markup for the content. So in the documentation, under post pages, post page, I'll just grab this here, copy that, and go over to here, paste it, and just leave that as the default at the moment. This should be news rather than blog, and back over on our news page, we click on second post. Yep, that takes us through to the second post. There's no formatting for that. That's easily fixed by giving it a layout. I've just added layout equals default up here in the meta section, and let's have a look and see what that does. There we go. So far so good, excellent. Now let's have a look back at this code section here. You'll also notice there's some PHP in here. This is another nice little feature that Winter and October both have. They also have fairly easy hooks where you can get into the life cycle of a request. And what happens here is once everything's done, and this little piece of code here checks to see if there's been something brought back for this post. If that's the case, then this page title, that becomes the post title, and which is, you know, in the twig here is the post title, and that is what gives us this here, this post title thing. If I go back to latest news, we've got first blog post, and we've got the post title there as well. Time to start filling out our category page. Once again, we can grab this stuff from the documentation and just grab that, and we'll post that into the categories page. Now there is an issue with this, and just let me show you what happens here. In the news list, we've now got our categories kind of working. If we click on here and look down at the bottom, we'll see localhost news, category news, which is exactly what we want. If we click on that, it says category not found. We go into our categories, and news has the slug of news, so it's definitely there. Now there is a way around this. I did a search and came up in the October CMS forums with a query saying that this plugin, you know, doesn't work. Now all we need to do is have curly brackets around the slug instead of the plain slug. If we do that, here, save that, come back to our site and get an exception there. What have we done? Oh, I haven't put a closing quote at the end of that. That'll do it. Refresh again. Get rid of the spaces here, and back to our browser, hit refresh, and news. Here we go. It's working so far. Excellent. Time to bring our news into our home page. At the moment we've just got this dummy text here. Let's pull these blog posts into the right place. In our home page, we've got a component called blog posts, so that's where we'll start. Scroll down to where the news is, down here, under here, and I'll just put the component in here. And close that component off. Save that to our home page and see what we've got here. Okay, we've got a list here. Right, so into our home page, let's go to our component. Let's expand this out. We can play with that. Save that and close this off, and let's have a look over in code and see what we've got. Alright, we're setting post lists from our blog post posts, and we've got a post list here. If we look at what's going on in here, we've got a for loop. We've got for posts in posts. So what it's doing here is grabbing the post title and the post URL. this is kind of useful, and we've got some pagination happening here. Now, won't need the pagination, so we'll clean that out, and this is going to be where our first post goes. So, posts and posts. Let's get rid of this stuff here, and posts. And we'll grab the first thing from the posts. Let's have a look and see if that's caused us anything. There we go. Alright. That's given us some useful information. Back to here. Don't really need this stuff, so let's pull this out. Let's grab this and copy it into our post. Now, instead of posts, it'll be posts.0.url, posts.0.title, and post.0.summary. Let's see if that works. Okay, we've got the title, but no other information there. And of course we change that from post to posts. We should have things going again. Yep, second post excerpt. Looking good. Now this doesn't click through to anything except the home page, so there's obviously an issue with this URL here. If we look at we've got posts URL, and that's clearly not working. Let's have a look back in here and see what we've got. Okay, so we've got the JSON object sitting here, and I don't see the URL is null, so it's not being filled at the moment. What we can do is we've got the slug for secondary post. We can play with that and use that to get our links working. And what we've got here, posts, we'll change that to slug. Of course that's not going to give us the full URL. We need to do news and post in front of that, and let's see if that gets that working. Yeah, I reckon that'll work. There we go. Yes. Okay, so we've got our post happening. The next thing we need to do is get our sidebar working. What have we got here that's useful? Yes, this loop here, I think is exactly what we need. We'll grab that and we'll just replace all this with that. Don't really need the lists, I don't think. I'll just make that a P for a paragraph. Change this to H4, and we don't need the summary, so we're just doing all this stuff. And let's see what happens. It's ugly, but it's there. So time to clean some things up. Okay, we're not using any of this anymore. That can go. It's our front news list. We don't need to display our posts object either. There we go, first post, second post, latest news. So that's all working. Let's look at what we've done. We've created a latest news page. From that we've gone to our individual posts. We can even do things like look at our category pages as well. And so we've done that. We've also gone to our home page. We've brought in our categories. We've grabbed the first one from our latest group. So this is always going to show whatever the latest post is going to be, and it's going to sort of have a list of 10 of those. Thank you for watching. I hope you've got something out of it, and like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that sort of stuff, and we'll see you in the next one.